welcome all our guests, Ms. Sangeeta Chadda, Ms. Ujjwala Sonabne, one of our very own MUIWW member, Ms. Lakshmi Torivan, and all you lovely ladies who've turned super chefs during this period. They say food connects us all. We all need it, depend on it, survive because of it, and derive happiness from it. The COVID lockdown saw this fact play out to the hilt. Fear and anxiety reached new levels thanks to the pandemic. Food became the source of comfort for many of us during the lockdown. The COVID lockdown brought forth many hidden talents, food being one of them. When our MUIWW member ladies started sharing their innovative recipes on our Pan-India groups, one of our admins, Ms. Megha Dev, suggested that we compile those recipes and publish an e-recipe book. And that's it. There was no looking back, and the MUIWW core team decided to make this a reality. This is how the MUI Women's Wing Food for Thought e-recipe book was born. I congratulate all our ladies for their innovative recipes which are featured in the e-recipe book. I now hand over to the head of MUIWW, Ms. Saleha Sheikh, who will introduce our special guest, Ms. Sangeeta Chadda, and take us forward through today's webinar. Saleha?
Thank you, Pauru. Thank you. Very warm welcome to all of you. Good afternoon. For the Indian seafarers and their families, the COVID lockdown has been a very challenging time where sign-offs got delayed, vacation plans got disrupted, planned surgeries were postponed, weddings and family functions cancelled. We at the MUI Women's Wing saw a stark reality emerging. It was just not the seafarers who were stuck at sea and affected by the lockdown, but also the families of seafarers who have been waiting anxiously for their seafarers to return home. Fear and anxiety started rising. Loneliness-led depression started surfacing amongst families. Our helpline numbers have been constantly buzzing with concerns on crew change and queries related to quarantine. Also, we had more families calling us for guidance and support than ever before. In fact, there are a sizable number of pregnant ladies who are due in the next few weeks and who have been waiting anxiously for their husbands to return home in time for their deliveries. We have been in touch with them and following up regularly with them through our various chapters all over India. We acknowledge and appreciate the efforts put in by the National Shipping Board, as well as FOSMA, MASA, and all stakeholders for putting in their best efforts towards the crew change. As a union, we have been supporting them throughout. The pandemic brought in some sad news. Few of our members have lost some very near and dear ones. Without going into their details, on behalf of the entire MUI family, we offer our condolences to them and their families. The biggest blow that the maritime industry has received is the loss of a great icon, Captain Harry Subramaniam, who succumbed to COVID-19 on 29 June and left for his onward journey. We all know Captain Subramaniam has written the world-renowned Nutshell series books and spearheaded maritime training in India. He was also Principal Emeritus of the LBS Nautical College in Mumbai. May his soul rest in peace. And while we heard many heartbreaking stories of losing near and dear ones due to COVID, there are many heartwarming ones of members from our seafarers' families who helped others in these difficult times. Some have helped through food or rations and some others through their networking channels. We've had many discussions on our various groups where some members were stuck and the others went out and out to help them through their various contacts. Some of our senior members have been silently mentoring the others in these times of depression and personal problems. And this only reaffirms our belief in the community spirit of the MUI Women's Wing. We owe our gratitude to all members for being there and serving the very purpose this community was created for. And that brings us to be grateful for the food on our tables. Through this lockdown, we connected with our seafarers' families in different ways. We arranged for different activities to keep up their morale and bonded with them over the subject of food. And the Food for Thought e-recipe book was born. This beautiful treasure trove of culinary secrets by seafarers' families deserves a great launch. And for this, we have invited our special guest, the very graceful and elegant Mrs. Sangeeta Chadha, to launch our Food for Thought e-recipe book. Married to Captain Kamal Chadha, director of Marix Media, a name that is synonymous with Indian maritime and shipping news. Born and brought up in Mumbai, Sangeeta ji is a hardcore Mumbaikar. She has been active as founder at Marix Media in its initial years. She is now primarily a homemaker and has always followed one of her main passions, which is voluntary work. Her association of 6 years with CMCA, a Bangalore-based NGO, gave her the opportunity to create civic awareness in children. Sangeeta ji currently runs her own charitable trust, Chhau, where they are striving to create traffic safety and traffic etiquette awareness. Her second passion is of teaching French, which had taken a back seat after marriage and kids. Taking advantage of the current lockdown situation, she has been refreshing her knowledge of the language and looks forward to go back to teaching soon. We are very pleased to have her grace us with her beautiful presence on this occasion. We now request Sangeeta ji to share a few words. Sangeeta ji.
Good evening, lovely ladies. Thank you so much, Saleha, for all the beautiful words you said about me. I guess the one thing that binds all of us present here is that we're all seafarers' wives. Are there any other women here who are not married to seafarers? No, okay. So I just want to share a little bit of my life as, or let's say my journey as a seafarer's wife. My first visit on board was when I was in my teens. My cousin was married to a chief engineer, and I would go and stay a couple of days on board with them whenever their ship was in Bombay. I was quite fascinated. Little did I know then that I would be marrying a mariner myself. I was 25 and I married Captain Kamal Chadha and sailed for 11 years thereafter. I enjoyed those months at a stretch out at sea, except when the sea got rough. I'm sure we all told our husbands, I'm going home at the next port. The experience of traveling to different countries was so varied, exciting, and enriching, especially the food. The different meats that people ate in China and Japan, for example, was just so different and unbelievable. Europe, on the other hand, had more subtle tastes. I do incorporate some of the things I saw those days in my cooking even today. Food on the ship, of course, was totally at the mercy of the chief cook. And if he wasn't an Indian, there were a few sad faces I could see of our officers craving for homemade Indian food. So I suggested, why not cook ourselves on a Sunday? And I would take some of the officers to the galley and we would cook up quite a variety. Bengan bharta, aloo parathas, palak paneer, and the kheer and kulfi were absolute favorites. It made them so happy, so I was happy as well. Once ashore, of course, it was not all that easy. We were managing the show all on our own when our men were out at sea. Right from paying bills, fixing things at home, and single-handedly managing our children. Yes, those were tough times. But I was lucky that my parents lived in Mumbai too, and they were such a support. Back to sea and the pleasure of standing on the bridge and watching a flat, calm sea, or gazing at the stars at night, the dolphins swimming alongside the ship at an alarming speed, are some of the things we can never forget. I miss those times. I must say it's been a wonderful journey despite the ups and downs in life. Dear friends, it's an honor to be invited here today. I now officially announce the launch of the Maritime Union of India Women Wings e-recipe book, Food for Thought. Thank you.
You speak so well, Sangeeta ma'am. I'm just going to share a video with all of us now, which will also launch the book.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, is the audio audible?
Love is the best place to grab it in a late night. Where do I go? Me and my friends at the table having drinks when it says it's time to close. Come on, let's go grab a late night dinner. I'm we got a massage.
Wow.
Father, asking me what I order. Only one thing I wanna eat now, and I'm singing like, oh, tonight I'll have a lot because my Muslim friend is getting married. Pile on that rice and meat. I'm crazy hungry, don't mind me. Don't eat, we'll be back for more. Be careful not to eat and eat like cheap. Coming now, time to eat. Coming now, time to eat. Biryani's my favorite food, and I'm sure you will like it too. Although my weight is 92, I'm in love with biryani. When it's not enough, I left two, and a side of kebabs too. Veg biryani, not biryani. I'm in love with biryani. Oh, I, oh, I, oh, I, oh, I. Go Hyderabadi. Oh, I, oh, I, oh, I, oh, I. Mughlai Bengali. Oh, I, oh, I, oh, I, oh, I. Malabar Lucknowi. With your hands, not with a spoon. Biryani's my favorite from weekend.
I hope everyone was able to see that.
Yes, yes.
Anyone
Yes,
has missed
we
it?
did.
Very nice.
It was very
Thank
good.
you, and many congratulations to all our chefs.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to everybody.
To all of
Congratulations.
us. Thank you very much, Sangeeta ma'am, for launching our ebook today. It's a very meaningful gesture for all of us. We'll continue.
It was an honor. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your presence today, and you really spoke well.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
Should we continue now?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Thank you so much, Ilham, for that video. And thank you, Sangeeta, for honoring us with your presence and inaugurating and launching our e-recipe book. It is a pleasure to have you always. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Lata. Thank you so much.
And this book is really what I can say, a labor of love. And we would especially like to thank our member, Megha Dev, who's the wife of Vaibhav Agarwal. I hope Megha is there today because I can't see her, but I think her video is playing naughty today. But Megha, she came up with this beautiful idea for bringing together all these recipes from across India. And that's how the idea for Food for Thought took birth. Megha has ever since been the key coordinator for this project. With support from the core committee, she has successfully spearheaded this project. Her active involvement with us in formatting, editing, designing, compiling, and proofreading this book has allowed us to see her amazing skills as a thorough professional, an excellent team player, and a truly talented tech-savvy young woman. We are proud to say that Megha, whose picture now you see on your screen, and with her lovely dog, has set an example for all of us with her selflessness. We appreciate the hours of work that she has put in to make this book come alive. Thank you, Megha. And with that, we would like to give her present her with the e-certificate of appreciation. Megha Dev.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Congratulations,
So Megha, you really
Congratulations.
you truly deserve it.
Congratulations, Megha.
It's a very nice effort, Megha. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Another member.
It means a lot coming from this fraternity that I'm connected with.
Yes, going forward, another member who has done us really proud is Priyanka Rathod from Pune. Priyanka is very much there, and her mouth-watering recipes flooded our NUI-WW groups throughout the lockdown. In a way, she set the recipe sharing trend, and it picked up beautifully. And here we are today celebrating her culinary talents together through Food for Thought. We also saw Rinki Garg, who's also present today, come into her own during this lockdown phase as she evolved into a very innovative home chef. We congratulate.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
We congratulate both Priyanka and Rinki for their new venture known as Anchored Bites. It was a venture which was announced amidst the making of this book, and we take it as a matter of pride that two entrepreneurs have found their true calling. At MUI-WW, we wholeheartedly wish to support and have always supported all our entrepreneurs and their journeys. We wish you all the best, Priyanka and Rinki.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Going forward, in our meetups, we always pick up one gem from the sea of sailor wives and acknowledge and felicitate her as the personality of the month. Today, we are very happy to acknowledge the accomplishment of Mrs. Shweta Pandey, wife of Captain Nitin Pandey of Anglo-Eastern Ship Management. She has done her master's in journalism, MBA, PG diploma in public relations, advertising and mass communication. She's also done a PG diploma in early childhood education. She has worked with Doordarshan Bihar, Times of India Patna, Dainik Jagran Lucknow, ETV Bihar, Siddharth Advertising Patna. She's an entrepreneur, a social activist, president of Shreshtam Education Trust, and owns a school, Chaitanya Shri Chaitanya Vidyalaya CBSE school in Pune. Hold on, there is still more. She has worked for Prisoners and Bureau Jail, Patna, for their development. She has worked for the underprivileged ladies who are suffering from domestic violence. She works for orphans and old age homes. And at present, she's working for the migrants, and their needs are day in and day out. Providing some online education too at the same time to children who are unable to pursue their academics in this crisis within their regular schools. She's also a theatre artist, Bharatnatyam and folk dancer, story writer and director. Recently, she wrote and directed a play for a school, which was a street play for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan by Modi ji, and she won the first prize on the national level. It was an anti-spit campaign. We congratulate you and we acknowledge your accomplishment, Shweta. And today you are. We congratulate you for being the personality of the month. Congratulations, Shweta Pandey.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very good evening to all MUI-WW members. I'm Shweta Pandey from Pune.
Yes, congratulations, Shweta. We are so happy and proud of you.
Congratulations, Shweta.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Such amazing work, really. I will now hand over to Poru. Poru, please take it up from here.
Ms. Shweta, would you like to say something? You were going to say something.
Definitely, I'd like to thank you all and thank you, Lata ma'am, for giving this honor. And this really will help me for considering me for the personality of the month. And I want to extend my sincere thanks for the award you all have thought of me. Receiving this award is really a great honor. And this award particularly recognizes my work, and it gives an amazing feeling of getting awarded for the efforts that I put in. And recognition like this is really a booster for a person like me who come out of the house to do something. And it was never recognized earlier. And I had never thought of also. But when Lata ma'am's phone came for this particular reason, I was just speechless because I do work, but I took it as my responsibility, and I was never recognized or awarded for any such thing. So the fact that my hard work has been recognized instills really the confidence in me to work even better and to give the best of our abilities for the interest and betterment of the society and my fellow citizen, which I'll definitely keep on doing. And your recognition is above all, and I'll remember and I'll try to do best as
Thank
I'm
you.
keeping on doing. So I thank you all for giving me this honor, and I really I'll thank my husband also, Captain Nitin Pandey, because without him I was not able to do, because financial independence is really needed, not only your physical involvement. So he was always there with me, even while he was sailing, while he's sailing in fact, and I'm here. He gives me financial independence and he says, go ahead and do whatever best we can do for the society, because we are one of the valued, means say, children of our God, that when all these citizens are suffering of say crisis, and still we are in a better position than others. So it is our responsibility to do the best for the society.
Thank you, ma'am.
And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Shweta.
Thank you.
Congratulations once more. And I would like to clarify that the award is decided by our core committee comprising of 4 of us. And then we brainstorm and then we decide whom to give that. So it is not one person who decides, the whole committee.
Thank you. Thank you to all. Thank you to all. Definitely, I'll keep on doing this job.
Yes, all the best to you.
Further also.
Yes, Paru.
Yes.
We welcome our speaker for today, Ms. Ujwala Sonavne, Dean, ITM Institute of Hotel Management. Ms. Ujwala Sonavne is a dynamic professional with 25 years of rich and indigenous experience and expertise in managing academic programs in hospitality operations and management, both national and international, in compliance with the prescribed quality standards. She's an expert and a soft skills trainer in hospitality industry. Her experience in the field of food and beverage service and production has been her forte. Being an alumnus of IHM Mumbai, she has earned her degree in hotel management, master's in tourism management, degree in hotel administration, and many more certificates. She has trained employees of CII, Hospitality Business, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, the Park Hotels, and more. She is an effective leader with distinguished abilities in recruiting, directing, leading, training, and retaining large multicultural workforce, imparting continuous training and career development, designing retention incentive policies. She believes in imparting knowledge to young hotel management teachers, the skills, ability, and academic know-how to manage today's budding hospitality professionals. I welcome Ms. Sonavne, and I now hand over the mic to her.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, let me congratulate everybody here. I've seen the lovely recipes and the recipe book. I really loved the work that has been put together by all the ladies. And I'm so happy to be amongst all the self-motivated and talented women here today. I will just go ahead with my presentation, which is on dining etiquette. Can I screen share?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to talk about dining etiquette today, and dining etiquette is a session that is normally conducted by me for say around 4 hours when I do a practical session, and when we involve a lot of food and wine, and it's a practical session held. And if it's not a practical session, then I can do this session for at around 2 hours. But today I have kind of compressed it to around 20 minutes. So it's going to be a gist of the whole dining etiquette. And I will definitely share some more written material with the committee so that it can be shared with the ladies present here. So dining etiquette, we in the hotel management fraternity, we call it an art, and it's not only an art, but it's also a craft, because there is a lot of stuff that you need to know when you're sitting on a table to dine. So when you see people at a table and the etiquettes that they follow, you kind of immediately get to know the knowledge that they have, and that's how you relate to people as well. So etiquette is something that is required in all facets of life today. It is a requirement of social behavior, and etiquette is something that is prescribed and is accepted by the society. So it is some laid rules that are to be followed and are accepted by everybody. So there are different styles of dining. One is the American and continental, and both these styles are acceptable. The American style, as you see in the picture, you can see that there is a plate of food, and the gentleman is eating with the fork, and the knife is on the plate itself. So that's the American style. You can eat with the fork, and which is also considered as good manners. While continental style is when the fork and the knife is held in your hand and you don't put it down on the plate. So this is also acceptable. Both these styles are acceptable while you're dining. Then when we go to a restaurant, when the menu is presented to you, generally these are the that people would order. So it is an appetizer or a soup, or an appetizer and a soup. Then there is a salad that we order. Then there's an entree, that means a main course, the main dish, and some accompaniments going with the main dish, and desserts. So these are certain things that generally everybody would order for when you go to a restaurant to dine. And the next thing at the table that you would see is some cutlery and crockery that is laid in front of you when you sit at the table. So that cutlery and crockery for one person is called as a cover. So in the hospitality terms, it is called as a cover, which is generally 20 to 24 inches of space that is required for one person to dine. And looking at the cover, we would generally know what is coming in. So there are different types of forks, knives, that is called as flatware. There are different types of cutlery that is used and placed on the table. So I'm not going to go into the detail of each one of it. While I would like to mention here that there are different forks and knives and spoons that you can see there, and it is each fork and spoon and knife is used for a different purpose or for a different type of food that you would dine. Then you would also see a lot of glassware when you go to a restaurant. So these are the four main types of glasswares that you would see. Where there's a water goblet, or you can have a water tumbler. Then there's a red wine and a white wine glass, which are different from each other. And there's a champagne fluid, or champagne can be served in various other glasses as a champagne saucer, or different fancy glasses these days. And there is is an all-purpose glass. So all these glass for hot and cold different drinks. So again, I'm not going into the details of those glasses because that's going to consume a lot of time here, but I would definitely in my further notes give you the different uses of the glasses. Then when you sit at a table, there are different table settings. So this is a formal table setting that you can see here, which consists of the plate. Then you have the forks to the left hand side and the knives and the spoons to the right hand side. Then the BNB plate, the smaller plates that you can see on top of the fork does normally in the Indian circumstances come towards the left of the fork, which is kept at the left of the fork with the knife, which is called as the bread and butter plate and the bread and butter knife. The spoon and the fork on the top is called as the dessert fork and the dessert spoon. And on the right hand side, you can see the glassware. And this is the casual table setting, which is used for a general meal, an a la carte meal, where you can order anything. And a formal table setting that I showed you earlier is generally used for a specific meal or a table meal where you know what is going to be served. So a specific course, like I mentioned, a 5-course or a 6-course menu that is going to be served, you can have a formal table setting. Then some basic tips to use your cutlery while you're at the table. When you're at the table, when you see a lot of cutlery on the table, people wonder which is the one that I'm supposed to use first, or how is it placed there, and what am I supposed to do with the cutlery there. So the first rule is you must always start from the outside and work your way inwards. So the outside most cutlery is what you're supposed to use first. And from the cutlery and the crockery that is placed there, you will generally get to know what is on the menu. So in case if you see a soup spoon there, you are aware that there is a soup on the menu. Or if there is a fish fork and a fish knife there, you would be aware that there is a fish course that is coming in. So looking at the crockery and cutlery, generally you would know what's coming in on the menu. And of course, at the table, the menu card is always placed. So you must start from the outside to inside, cut with the knife and pierce with the fork. This is very important because a lot of people, you also must have observed that they don't know sometimes how to use the fork and the knife and how to cut with the knife. So it's always the piece of food is always held with the fork and has to be cut with the knife with the other hand. Then the glasses are on the right hand side, as I have shown in the picture. Always all glasses, be it water or wine or any other beverage, is always on the right hand side. The only knife that is on the left is the BNB knife. The BNB knife is called as the bread and butter knife. And the only plate on the left hand side is the BNB plate. That's the bread and the butter plate. So in the Indian context, we have a lot of Indian breads. It could be roti, paratha, anything that is served has to come on the BNB plate. And if you're having a continental menu, the bread rolls would be kept in the bread basket. So you're expected to pick up the bread and put it on the bread and butter plate and use the BNB knife to take the butter from the butter dish and place it on the BNB plate and use the butter as required by you. So the bread is always in the basket and it is placed at the center of the table, especially in a continental meal. You're supposed to pass on the bread basket and not lean forward or snatch the bread basket while you're at the table. You're expected to ask for the bread from the bread basket. When it comes to you, you pick up the bread and place it on the BNB plate, and the same you do with the butter. Then you always have a salt and pepper cell that is kept at the table, which is called as the cruet set. And the cutlery that is placed on the plate while chewing the food. So while you're having the meal, if you want to rest, you can keep the cutlery in the position that is shown there, that is acceptable. And after the meal is over, then the cutlery is placed at 10-20 position, which is shown in the next picture, which is parallel to each other. Then there are some do's and there will be some don'ts that I would explain. So while the meal is served to you, you must definitely try everything before saying no to a dish, unless you have some dietary or religious restrictions. But whatever comes to the table, you must at least try the food and then decide if you want to have it or not have it, not by just looking at the food or not by just look of the dish. Never talk while your mouth is full. I think that is a norm that we all know, which does not talk as good manners. And while your mouth is full, also do not use a glass to drink water or a wine, because the particles that are in your mouth will finally settle down on the glass tip, which doesn't look nice when it's at a table. So you must chew the food properly, slowly, eat your food properly, and then take a sip of your beverage. Eat steadily and slowly, and enjoy every bite of the food that you're having at the table. And if you need to get up and go for any reason from the table, you can excuse yourself, fold the napkin that you have, and place it on the chair. And that's an indication that shows that you're coming back. You've not finished your meal. You can leave the folded napkin on the chair and move away. So if you're not comfortable using the fork to eat rice, so generally you're expected to eat rice with a fork. But if you're not comfortable using a fork, it is acceptable to use the spoon while you're having rice. And always remember that food is always on your left and beverages on the right. So whatever food will be at the table is mostly on your left, and all the beverages, and that's why all the glasses are kept on the right hand side. So while you finish this, I have earlier also mentioned, while you finish, you can place your cutlery at 10-20 position or parallel at 6 o'clock that we placed is also correct. So that indicates that you've finished the meal. While you are maybe sipping on some tea, coffee, or a glass of water or a juice, and there is a conversation on, it is considered as good manners to keep the glass aside or the cup aside and then take the conversation ahead. But do not look into or over the cup and kind of take part in the conversation while drinking, which is not acceptable. Do use the butter knife to spread the butter on the bread or the piece of bread. So the general rule here is normally when soup is served, breads are always served with the soup and butter is also served. So while the soup is served, we always consider soup, or we say that the soup is eaten, it's not drunk. So the soup is always called as, or we say that it's eaten. And you take the bread on the BNV plate and you break the bread into bite size. With the BNV knife, take the butter, apply it on the piece of bread, and then have the piece of bread and put it totally in the mouth. It is considered bad manners if you break into the bread and keep it back on the table or on the BNB plate. You're expected to break a piece of bread from the bread roll, apply butter, and then eat it. It is important for everybody to also see that while we are having the meal, you have to keep pace with everybody. So do not be too slow or do not eat too fast, which is not considered as a good practice or good manners. So you have to keep pace with everybody at the table, course by course. Avoid answering calls or messages when you're on the cell phone during a meal unless it's very important. That is good manners. And if you are expecting calls or you are talking on a call or busy on a cell phone, that shows disrespect to the people who are dining with you. So you must avoid answering your phones while you're at a meal. Then if you happen to drop a fork, spoon or knife, generally we wonder what are we supposed to do? Should I pick it up or should I leave it there? So the best thing that to do is to leave it there, and the server will come and pick it up, and he will give you a fresh piece of cutlery or whatever, or the piece that has fallen down. So do not pick it up and put it on the table. The server is there. He is expected to pick it up and give you a fresh piece of cutlery. Then there are some don'ts. A lot of people, when we go to the restaurant, don't know what to do with the serviette or the napkin that is placed there, the cloth napkin. It's also called as a serviette. The serviette is generally used to place on your lap. So eating food, nothing, if anything falls, it doesn't dirty your attire, but it falls on the piece of serviette. So the napkin is generally used to place on the lap, but not to be tied around the neck. So we've seen in a lot of movies, we've seen in some old movies where people have tied the napkin around their neck, but that's not what you're supposed to do. It's supposed to be on your lap, and it is supposed to be used to dab your mouth whenever it is required. So do not overload your plates when you're serving yourself. See that you serve yourselves just the amount of food that is needed. Do not overload the plate. It's not considered as good manners. Then do not mop your face with the napkin. It is not supposed to be used as a mop. It is supposed to be dabbed. So you need to dab your mouth with the napkin and put it back. Do not drink from a saucer is something that I think everybody knows and we follow. So that's an etiquette that is mentioned here because maybe people don't know what to do with it. So never drink from a saucer. It's always a cup. Do not twist your feet around the legs of the chair. Both should rest on the floor properly, which also gives you a good posture while you're sitting. Do not lean back on the chair. And these points are generally to see that your posture at the table is good. Do not keep your elbows on the table. Instead of that, rest your wrist. So elbows never go on the table. Generally, people like to be comfortable on the table, putting their elbows on the table and sitting there, which is not considered as good manners. Instead of that, you can rest your wrist on the table and take support of the table if you need to. Do not reach across or ask for a dish. If there is a dish that is a little away from you, do not go across the person and lean forward. Instead, you ask for the dish. You ask the person sitting next to you to pass that dish to you, and they will pass it to you. Do not slurp or burp. That is bad manners, which I think everybody knows. In today's day, we follow this. It's considered bad manners. The sound that is produced is not good. So do not slurp and burp. If you have a cold and sneeze, excuse yourself. That is good manners. So you have to excuse yourself if you have a cold. Keep your personal hanky with you if you know that you have a cold, instead of using the napkin that is there at the table. The napkin that is there at the table is used for dabbing your mouth and not to wipe your face or the nose. If something is stuck in your teeth while you're eating, use a toothpick discreetly, or excuse yourself and go to the washroom and use a toothpick and clean the particle that has been stuck in your teeth. But doing that in front of the guest at the table is considered as bad manners. So these are certain do's and don'ts that I had listed here. And generally, while you go to a restaurant or while you're having a formal meal, like I said before, a table setting influences the appearance of the food. So if there is an appetizer that's coming in, or there is an appetizer on the menu that you can see, there is a fork and the knife on the outermost side that is supposed to be used. While after you finish the appetizer, the fork and the knife is cleared by the waiter, and then the next meal may be the soup that is there, the soup spoon. So the server will serve you the soup, then you're supposed to use the soup spoon, and so on and so forth. The next courses come in. So the crockery and cutlery will set the tone and the feel of the meal. And if you follow the dining etiquettes or the rules that are prescribed or set while you're dining, you feel important, you make people feel important, and you feel nice while you're showcasing your good dining etiquette skills at the table. So this is a short gist of the dining etiquette that I have put together. But yes, definitely, if we need to do an elaborate dining etiquette session, maybe we can do it later. Like I said, it's a whole 2 hours training that we generally give. So we can do that later. So thank you. I hope everybody has, I was audible and everybody has heard what I have said. If you have any questions related to this, I can answer them.
Thank you. It was wonderful, Ujjwala. I really enjoyed it.
Yes,
Thank you,
very,
ma'am.
very helpful tips. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you. It was
many of
very
them
helpful.
we're aware of, but you know, it's always better to refresh your memory about these.
Yes, so true.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
true.
Completely agree with Lata ma'am and with Sangeeta ma'am. That was a really good session. I think somewhere all of us aspire to know all these dining etiquette and tips, but we don't know so much detail. We probably don't spend so much time. And to hear it from an expert puts a lot of things in perspective. A lot of doubts got quelled today. And I think a lot of us realize we've been doing certain things pretty wrong all this while. So thanks a lot for this. And we'll move on after that really, really insightful session. The chat box is buzzing with compliments for Ujjwala ma'am. We are now going to move on to the next segment for this evening. We have somebody who is a very active member at MUIWW and a very respected member, a lady who has established her name as a very good writer, as a very good human being, and a very talented individual. I would now like to invite Ms. Lakshmi Todiwan. She's the founder of Indian Women in Hospitality. She's a professor, corporate trainer, motivational speaker, and a blogger. A hospitality professional with a career spanning over 2 decades. People engagement, training, and development is close to her heart. She writes for hospitality, journals, international websites, and columns in the local newspapers. Many of us have also read some of her amazingly written blogs. She's married to a master mariner, and she loves to write on the maritime industry, as well as she lives as well as the lives and relationships of the fraternity. She expresses her thoughts on her blog and website called the www.theiwh.com. She is a brilliant writer, and I feel very lucky that I've not only heard her speak in person, but also read some of her work. So on this note, we're going to go from good to great with Lakshmi Todiwan.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Ladies, do you have 30 minutes for me?
Yes, yes.
It's tea time and I really don't know. So I'll try and keep it 30 minutes. And first of all, thank you so much, MUIWW and all the ladies present here for this opportunity. I should say it's an absolute honor to be addressing the fraternity. You all are soul sisters. And Ilham, thank you for your kind words. I was wondering what session should I be doing for the ladies, and something that came to my mind was I felt, we're already so good. A sailor's wife is known as strength personified. She's known for her resilience and perseverance. And this pandemic has again proved her mettle. Who can be better than us? Some of us have been staying on our own, taking care of families or so, without a husband being around for months together. And some of us are, yes, professionally employed, but some have made a choice to be taking care of their homes. Again, managing what is the good in the best interest of our families. So I thought I should be doing something different. And this module is called Moving from Good to Great, because all of us are undoubtedly very good. Please allow me to share my screen with you. And there will be a little activities that I have for you. So please make sure that you have something handy and put them down there. The chat box could be used for messages. I can see that all of you are quite an expert using the chat box now. So let's get on with it. Okay, can you see the screen? Can you? All right,
Yes,
thank you,
Lakshmi,
ma'am.
we can
Thank
see
you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, all right. So the module outline is going to be why this module is important for us. We will speak about the G.I. Joe fallacy. Then we'll talk about signature strengths, moving to the flow. We'll then discuss WHOOP technique, and then we will be talking about 10 steps to move from good to great. Now, why do we need this? Of course, to become the better version of ourselves, both personally and professionally. And the science of psychology has great insights. In fact, the human mind is something which is not tapped. The human heart is something that we have tapped over. So we need to be somewhere intelligent using emotions as well as our intelligent minds together. I'm sure all of you have heard about the G.I. Joe, 80s superhero, American superhero. And why am I talking about that? Because it came with a mistaken identity that said that knowing is half the battle. That means if you know something, is it enough? We will see that just knowing a bit of it is actually not enough, because sometimes what is visible and seen to you is not the reality. Also adding, you can't judge a book by its cover. And this we will look at by seeing vision as a metaphor through two tests, which all of you are also going to look at it and answer, called the Mueller-Lyer test and the Shepherd's tables. These are two psychologists who have designed the concept saying that knowing is not half the battle, and they prove that using vision as the metaphor. Now you're going to see two lines. Please write down which one is longer, line A or line B. Write down on your sheets, or you can also put it on the chat box. Which one is longer, A or B? I'm sure you've done it already. So I don't know how many of you said A, and also don't know how many of you actually said B. Both are the same, equal. Somebody said B. All right. So both of them are actually equal. So we've got many of you who are saying the lines are equal. And please keep yourself muted. Let's look at two more tables now. Table A and table B. Now here you're going to say which one is longer, table A or table B. Please put that in your answers, A or B. All right, table A is longer. So most of you are saying table A is longer. Now look at it. Both of them are of the same size, proving that what we see is not the entire truth sometimes. And also referring to what we read, both on WhatsApp University and outside, we read, we hear, we see many things which may not be true. And as a shippy wife, I think this is something that we need to keep our ears and eyes and everything open possible so that we use more of logic. Another exercise I want you all ladies to please list your 5 strengths. List them. You can put them in your chat as well. What do you think are your top 5 strengths? Have you done it? Have you done it? Please list down your strengths. I want to see some of them
I'm writing on the chat box.
Okay, you're putting on, but I'm sure all of you have written. I hope everybody has done that. Even if you don't want to put it on the chat box, it's okay. Later on, you can do that. But please make sure that you have written down 5 of your strengths. Whatever strengths you feel, they should be listed. Let's move ahead then. I assume that everybody has done it. Now, the strength that you have listed are known as your signature strengths or your character strengths. And these are very, very important or essential to who we are because they speak about our personalities. No two individuals are the same, and everyone comes out with different sets of strengths. These are morally valued because people love them. They are fulfilling to you and probably to your family at times. These can be measured. Your strengths can, all of them, be measured. They are very, very distinctive, as I said, making you the unique individual that you are. And some people really have them and some don't. Why don't some people have them? Probably because they have never found out what their strengths are. And believe me, some of us may not even know what our strengths are. I was one of them. Now, there's a gentleman, a psychologist, Martin Seligman. He says that one of my signature strengths is the love of learning. And by teaching, I have built it into the fabric of my life. I try to do some of it every day. So what is he talking about? The signature strength that he has, he is doing a bit of it every day, and that's what makes his life very, very fulfilling. As you can see, there are certain words listed there. These are the signature strengths. And there are 24 of them that have been identified. All of us will have these signature strengths in varying degrees. For us, the top strength may be different from the other person, and the combination may be different from another individual. But all of this, our strengths can be actually put into that of 24, just like the 12 zodiac signs. Similarly, your signature strengths or character strengths can be listed or put into a factor of 24. This was done by Vaya Institute of Character. Why am I speaking about it? Because I want each one of you to take this test. It is free and you can do it online, and you will be surprised at the result that you get. Okay, there are 24 of them, character strengths or signature strengths. And it's good for you to know your top 5 because it is believed that you will be using mostly the top 5 of your strengths. Here's the link to the survey. If you can look it fine, otherwise I'll share this on the chat box a little later or on the group. So all of you can actually go through this and take up this test. It'll be worth doing it because it will help you discover yourself. These are the 24 character strands of mine. And believe me, I had no clue that they were in that particular order. I always thought gratitude would always, rate very high in me, or probably people management or managing my emotions. But I was surprised at what I got. I got social intelligence at the top, Second was kindness. Third, spirituality. Fourth, leadership. I felt leadership should have been something down. 5, humor. 6 is creativity. So that means we generally use the top 5 of our character strengths. So honesty is not featured here. Gratitude is at number 15. Humility is at number 20, whereas I thought these were things that I had a lot in them. Now, let me also say why probably these are, this test is correct and how this plays an important role. Social intelligence, I think whatever I have done on a social platform, I've got, a lot of success, I should say, by God's grace. And I am a spiritual person. Nothing to do with religion, but it's more of spirituality. So these things have helped me in my writing or whenever I've presented things on my own or did things. I think I got more of satisfaction from the top 5 things that are listed here. Hence, I am very much for this particular test, and I feel each one of us should do this if we haven't. Now, why are these signature strengths important? One is they increase your productivity, because these are things that you're good at. A lot of the times we don't even introspect. We don't really know who we are. We don't know what we are heading out for, because everything is taken care of, and probably we have not looked at certain aspects. So this will increase your productivity. You will do things which are your top strengths. It also would lead to job satisfaction, both professionally as well as at the personal level, in your family, in your relationships. It is mediated by positive emotions. Why? You're doing something which is your top strength and you enjoy doing it. Hence, it is going to give a lot of positive emotions to you. It is said that the greater the signature strength, the higher is the positive experience. Hence, know your signature strength and use them well. With strength comes a concept called flow. Flow means a mental state or a state of being where a person forgets his own or her own needs. Even your basic needs, like you're forgetting to drink water or have food. So no sleep, no hunger, nothing, you will not feel them. That's the state of flow. And believe me, you don't reach the state of flow when you are sitting idle. Flow comes at a time when you are challenged, where your capabilities are challenged. So high level of challenge and high level of skill. As you can see here, flow is somewhere here. High level of skill and high level of skill. Challenge and skill. Have we found our flow and why it is important for us? Flow will come only when you do things that you're passionate about. In fact, a lot of you, I was watching almost all the dishes that came up. And believe me, that was the time I was so busy with things, I could not even contribute a single recipe or do something with the food. But I saw a lot of you did that and you did it beautifully. And today's book launch and this particular session has been a result of that. So all those people who did that probably found their flow, things that they enjoy doing, things that they love doing. In fact, Priyanka and Rinki, they have come out with an entrepreneurial venture. That's probably because they found what their flow was. So it's important for us to know. It will make you feel highly energized. Do you know your flow? Again, I want you all to please write it down. If you know, list it. If you don't know, put a dash there, because you must find out what it is and fill up the dash a little later. Maybe today, maybe this week, maybe this month, but you must know what your flow is, because that keeps you going. Even when the rest of the things are not there, it's important for you to find your flow and stick to that, especially for us. You know, the Shippy wives can get into depression very easily because of the kind of lives that we lead. It's important for us to find our passion, find our flow, and keep ourselves busy with these kind of things, because it helps in your growth, both mentally, physically, emotionally, and on a very, very spiritual level. So I'm leaving this with you. Please ensure that you know what your flow is. Now let's move to 10 steps, taking you from being good to great. And believe me, these are very, very simple steps. All of us know it. It's just a recap of the things. And why it is important? Because you must not be afraid to uh, give give up for good, because only when you give up good you will become great. Number one, be consistent by taking steps every day in reaching your goal. So it says have consistent goals. All of us know what goals are, right? We know that goals have to be long term, mid range, short term, daily goals. Now, what does long term really mean? Something that you see for yourself beyond 5 years. And mid range would be 2 years plus. Short term would be within 1 year. And daily goals are the things that you do on a daily basis. Now, is it so important to set goals? Not really. But then please get into the habit of listing 10 things that you're going to do on a particular day, something known as to-do list. That to-do list is extremely important because the moment you have put these things down on a piece of paper, just write down 10 things that you want to do and forget about it. Before you go to sleep, look at the list again. You'll be surprised at seeing the number of things that have been ticked off the list without any consistent or efforts from your end. It just happened. And that's how goals get fulfilled. And also something that we say about goals is people underestimate what they can do in 5 years time, but they overestimate what they will do in 1 year. That means in 1 year, we think we are going to do a lot of things, but 5 years, we do not look, we really are not very accurate because sometimes things can turn around in 5 years. One example could be, you set a goal to put on some weight. How many of you will set this goal to put on some weight? That means you need to work consistently towards it. Nobody. Nobody wants to put on weight. Okay, so let's say if you have to lose weight, obviously it needs to be planned. So setting your goals, and these goals are SMART. We also know this: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and they have to be time-bound. Now, I want you to put certain questions to your goals. Number one is, what do I want? Who do I want it for? Where do I want it and how? Please ask these questions. Whenever you're setting the goal, ask what do you want? Who do you want it for? Where and how are you going to get it? Then comes your visualization. Visualization is extremely, extremely powerful. If you're able to see the outcome and you know the obstacles, there is nothing that will stop you. So be that vigilant and be able to see where you want to lead. And then comes your planning. Whenever we plan, we say that do not have just plan A. Always have a plan B as well. This pandemic has taught us and reiterated the fact that always have plan B. That is called if-then plan. If plan A does not work, we do not lose things completely. We have something to rely on, which is plan B. But do not look at the 26 alphabets. Huh? There are people who will say, if not A, then B. If not B, then C. So there are a whole lot of them. Let's not get on there, but at least A and B is something that you can use. This is another very, very powerful technique called WHOOP. Some of you must have heard of it. And for the others, let me explain what it is. This is for setting your goals or making a wish, not even goals. Let's not talk them goals because goals at times sound very, very corporate. This could be just the wish that you have for yourself, your family, or whatever you want to achieve. And this technique was given by a psychologist called Gabrielle Oettingen. And she says that a person should whoop many times during a day. How? She says, make a wish. Whatever you want, just wish for it. Look at the best outcome. So W is your wish. Think of the best outcome for that wish. Look at all the obstacles that might come up. And then she says you must plan. Which plan? If-then plan. But here, important for you is the order of the O's. First has to be outcome and then the obstacle. Do not interchange. What will happen if you think of the obstacles first? Chances are you will not want to attempt because you would see enough reasons for failure. Hence, do not look at obstacles first. You must look at the outcome. What is the outcome that you're looking for? And then think of the possible obstacles, and then you create your if-then plan. And this can be done many times and with almost all activities. Everything that you do during the day, please swoop it. Step number 2. So one was setting goals, and we spoke a lot about goals. Second step, taking you towards being great, is ask for advice. I think on MUI WW group, we do enough of it. We are quite attuned to asking advice. Reason why you should do, because there are people who've been there, done that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Instead, take mileage from what somebody else has done. And this advice can be from anybody, somebody who's younger than you, somebody who is not, maybe even designation wise, it can come, the best advice can come from almost anybody. So we must be open to that. Number 3, have self-belief. If you wish to become better version of yourself, it has to start from you. Thinking about it within. And the best example that I could always think about self-belief is Arunima Sinha. I'm sure all of you have heard about this lady. Double amputee who climbed Mount Everest. Not just Mount Everest, I think she has summited at so many others. And what happened with her? She was thrown out of the running train. She lost both her feet. And when she was lying there, seeing insects and other things eating away her feet, she was saying, God, if you have saved me, probably I'm saved for some reason. And when she was in the hospital, she said to herself, अगर भगवान तुमने मुझे बचाया है तो कुछ करना है, मैं शायद Mount Everest cross करूं. And that's the time she met this mountaineer, Miss Bachendri Pal. And when she met her, Bachendri Pal told her, जब तूने अपने मन में सोच लिया है कि तुझे एवरेस्ट पे जाना है तो तू चली गई. It is just a matter of fact that now you have to decide when, but you have already achieved. That's the power of self-belief, and we must have that. Only then can we move to better versions. Always walk the extra mile. And extra mile would mean if you want results different from yesterday, then you have to do something which is different from what you did yesterday. And that requires putting in little more. It requires more than your dedication. And what does it require? Obviously, setting goals. That's why we covered that earlier. And dealing with self-doubt, having a self-belief is important. And your time needs to be managed well, because as women, we have so many responsibilities, and all of them need to find some of our time. It does not mean that we are moved away from our goals. Step 5, be disciplined. Discipline, in simple terms would be whatever you've decided to do, completing it on time is discipline. And between your goal and accomplishment, there is a very, very narrow margin, and that margin is set by discipline. If you don't have it, you will never ever achieve what you have set out to achieve. So this requires in almost everything. You want to lose weight, be disciplined what you're eating, be disciplined about exercising. And why that's important? Because once you achieve those results, winning becomes a habit, just like losing becomes a habit. We must not get into losing, or we must not get into giving up, because these are very, very contagious feelings. Instead, we must attain whatever little goals we have set, and that leads to a lot of satisfaction and setting up of even more accomplishments that will be coming your way. At number 6, we say, do what you're passionate about. Remember we spoke about flow? If you're wondering why did I discuss all of that? Because it was needed when you want to become better version of yourself. You need to know what your flow is. You need to know what you're passionate about. Today, Miss Shweta Pandey has been recognized for her work, and the recognition came because she followed her passions. And you follow your passion, you're so much in the flow, you don't think of the outcome. And these things just come your way. So you must know what's yours, and that will keep you going during difficult times. You must make the world a better place. Contribute in whatever way you can. Again, going back to what Shweta said today, she said that, we are better off than a whole lot of other people. What are we doing for them? The NGO that she supports. I know many of Shippy wives who do this. And why do we do it? It gives us a sense of satisfaction, a sense of gratitude, a sense of belonging, and doing something for the others. Because that's the biggest gift that you can give people. It need not be in terms of money always. It can be through the things that you are good at, taking some classes, teaching people, empowering people. All of them will help you in making this place better. And in connection with that, there are 3 more emotions I would like to discuss with you. How do you make the world a better place for others? You need to make it better place for yourself first. And for that, please concentrate on the emotions of savoring. Savoring means enjoying, being in the moment. It could be as simple as you're having an ice cream. Please enjoy that ice cream. Live in that particular moment and enjoy the moment. What happens when we go to a restaurant, when we go out, when we see places? We are so busy clicking pictures. We forget to somewhere enjoy that. Again, there's no harm in taking pictures. What happens is, if you're going to revisit, go back looking at the pictures, it takes you back to that moment when you really enjoyed. But then whatever you're doing, be in it emotionally and enjoy it. Then comes a sense of gratitude, being thankful for whatever you have. Today, I think all of us have realized that gratitude is the topmost emotion that all of us should have. And the gratitude is for, we are healthy, we are breathing, everything is fine. Nobody's asking for material things. And gratitude is an emotion. If you have it, you will always get more of it. You will have reasons to be feeling thankful about. And kindness. In fact, there's a whole research that I could speak about when talking of kindness. But here, I'll just put it in one sentence, saying that when you do things for others, the happiness that you get is a lot more than when you do it just for yourself. And this has been proved by so many researchers. Number 8, be innovative. Don't be a bad copy of somebody else. Be the original, best copy of yourself. And each one of us have a unique style. Use it. And for this, I took you through signature strengths, because you would know what your signature strengths are and use them. Probably that will help you discover what your passion is. Pay attention. Pay attention to what? Pay attention to things that's happening around you. As a Shippy wife, this is so very important to you, because we need to be looking at the things around us. When you're on your own, you need to take care of your family. You need to take care of their health. You need to be aware of things happening around you. You should be technologically updated, and you should know how to use a lot of things. Again, paying attention to the opportunities that you have, because that is what will decide what future holds for you. Spot the opportunity and get on with it. And the last one that moves you from being good to great is live in the present moment. Why? You cannot live in the past, even if it was really, really, really beautiful. You had the best of the time, you cannot live there. And you cannot live in your future, no matter how bright you see it to be. Where do you live? You live in the present. That is here and now. That is today, this moment. And that's where all the other emotions that we spoke about would come into picture if you learn how to live in the present and make the most of it, because it brings a lot of clarity and peace. There is balance in you as an individual. So we'll move to the module outline. What did we do? Just a recap of this particular module, why it was important for us. We said to become the better version of ourselves, both personally and professionally. We spoke about the G.I. Joe fallacy, which was a mistaken identity that said that knowing is half the battle. Knowing is not half the battle. Knowing is nothing unless you know the facts for sure and you're going to apply them. Then we spoke about signature strengths, each one of you to take up this test and know what your top strengths are. And please use your strengths. That will help improve a lot of things within you. The understanding that you have of yourself, the relationship that you have with your family, with your shippy, and also it will help you doing, you will be at a lot more peace and calmness within you. Then we spoke about flow, knowing your passion, finding what that is. Speaking about goal settings, we spoke about the WHOOP technique, make a wish, think of the outcome, look at all the obstacles, and then you do the plan. That means if then plan. If A does not work, then I have plan B for me. And then we move to 10 steps to move from good to great. So ladies, that's all I have for you. Let me stop sharing.
Thanks a lot, Lakshmi. That was an amazing session. We have really learned a lot from you. Some really good points, very relevant points to all our lives. And personally, I'm feeling very motivated after hearing your entire session. Really, really brilliant.
Thank you
You're
so
amazing.
much. Thank you.
So Lakshmi has enlightened all of us, and now it's time to put an end to this very, very beautiful evening. The e-recipe book is already ready, and we will be sharing it with you in PDF format very soon through the WhatsApp group. So please await it. Also, we have our own YouTube channel now. The teaser video that you just saw will also be up, the sneak peek video. So please do show some love to the MUIWW YouTube channel and do subscribe to the same. And it's time now to say a thank you to a few people who have been instrumental in making this project come to life. I'd like to start with thanking Ms. Sangeeta Chadha for coming here today, for speaking really well. And as Lakshmi said, it's very important to value the words of people who've gone through, who've accumulated wisdom over the years. And that's what I felt when I heard Sangeeta ma'am speak today. And thank you very much, ma'am, for launching our Food for Thought e-recipe book and staying back for the entire evening. And I'd also like to once again congratulate Shweta Pandeyji for being Personality of the Month. I would also like to thank our silent spectator in this meet, Mr. Alok Shirodkar, who has come on behalf of Marix and been an extremely important support for today. Without him, I think we could have expected some more technical snags and things going haywire. So he has been very, very important for this digital meeting. And I'd also like to thank all the members from Marix, from Sailor Today, and from Bhandarkar Publications who have taken the time to come and attend this meet and make it more meaningful for us. And you will become the voice for this meeting and help us to reach out to more members. I lastly would like to thank my very, very dear Food for Thought team members, starting with the core committee members of MUIWW, Lata ma'am, Saleha, Pauru, and our additional two Food for Thought team members, one of who was the backbone of the e-recipe book, that's Megha Dev, and also our dear Priyanka Rathore. All of you have we know that we spent hours compiling and shortlisting and formatting and making these videos and ideating and bringing this entire evening together. I salute all of you and your spirits. I also want Saleha to come back on screen. Happy note.
Everyone for being here with us today. It was a wonderful session. A very big heartfelt thank you to all our guests, our speakers for the day, and the lovely participants. I want to thank my core team members, Lata Ma'am, Paulu and Hilam, for their selfless and undying efforts towards this work. Every successful meetup or webinar that we have involves a lot of planning and strategizing and a lot of effort that goes into it. I mean, we spend hours and late nights discussing things, and this has been, like Lata Ma'am said, a labor of love. And yes, how can I forget Megha for the kind of work she has put in, the kind of editing, and there was so much back and forth that we went with, with her through this. And I am really, really thankful to all of you. So once again, we finish with another beautiful, wonderful webinar. Thank you to Lakshmi and Ujwala for their very inspiring and very educational and motivating sessions. So much to learn. So many wonderful takeaways, something so similar again in the future. And that is exactly our endeavor. We try to, share this kind of educational learning with you all. It's a time to grow, especially these COVID times. It's been depressing, but yet we have been positive and we have been working hard to do whatever we can. Thank you so much for being patient, and thank you to everyone. Good day.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Good night.